Welcome, and thank you for joining ARPA-E's webinar on the IGNITE 2025 program. Today, you'll hear from Program Director Laurent Pilon as he dives into ARPA-E's effort to support the next generation of energy innovators and gives advice on the elements of a strong IGNITE proposal. The session will consist of a 30-minute presentation followed by a 15-minute Q&A. For questions, please use the Q&A widget accessible via the ellipses at the bottom right of your screen titled Panel Options. The chat widget is disabled, so please direct all questions to the Q&A panel throughout the presentation. Our team will review and select questions to address during the Q&A segment. With that, I welcome Dr. Laurent Pilon.
Thank you very much, Cheryl. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I'm Laurent Pilon, and I would like to talk about the IGNITE program. IGNITE stands for Inspiring Generations of Innovators to Impact Technologies in Energy. And today we're going to talk about a potential notice of funding opportunity around IGNITE 2025. I will start by introducing ARPA-E and what we are supporting. Then I will discuss how we envision the IGNITE 2025 program. And then I will finish by giving some tips on how to write a strong concept paper. So first, let me introduce ARPA-E. We started in 2009 from the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. And this was based on a report by the National Academy of Sciences and Engineering, rising above the gathering storm that called for the creation of ARPA-E. And so today we are 15 years old, and we have supported over the years nearly 1,600 awards in 84 programs, and the fiscal year for last year was the budget was $460 million. Our mission is to reduce the energy imports, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, improve energy efficiencies, and more recently, two other goals were assigned to us. One was to improve energy infrastructure and resilience, and the second was to improve radioactive waste management from nuclear power plants. The way we work is we aim to create new learning curves and accelerate the development of disruptive technologies. So the way we do it is we have multiple shots on goal. So if we have a program, we identify challenges that we need to address, and then we take multiple shots on goals. So we're going to have a portfolio of projects with different level of risk, but we are high risk, high reward research funding agencies. And as we develop these programs and these projects, we follow them, and some may fail, but we hope that some of them will succeed and accelerate the development and the scale. So we are looking for disruptive technologies that are scalable, and the cost here is a metric that is important to us because that's how we ensure that we go from the technology from the lab to the market. Okay. Another thing that we understand is that early stage research projects may need to be accompanied a little further until they can be adopted by the market or supported by other mechanisms within DOE. So, excuse me, if you think of R&D projects we have, it's relatively high risk. We are early in the development cycle. Then we de-risk the technology. Then we end up with having some products, hardware or software or both. And then we understand that sometimes we need to scale up and accompany the scaling up of the technology. And so all these earlier programs, and IGNITE would be one of them, if we have a technology and a team that has filed a patent and has exclusive licensing to use this patent, and they are ready to scale up. We have this scale up program, and I encourage you to look. We had a recent announcement called Scale Up Ready. That's for this purpose of scaling up to take the technology from lab to market. The motivation for the IGNIITE program goes back again to the report from the national academies that had a few statements about early career researchers. So first, the report identifies early career researchers are particularly important because they are really the forefront of innovators. And they also noticed that these researchers may not be supported as well from regular funding sources because we expect a certain track record or preliminary results to de-risk our own, to manage our own risk when we support projects. So they are a bit at a disadvantage compared to more senior colleagues who may have a lot more experience and also a lot more bigger track record. And so IGNIITE is meant to address this, okay? And so this is again following these statements from the national academies during the calling for the creation of ARPA-E and calling for paying particular attention to early career researchers. So the motivation of the IGNIITE program is to support these early career researchers focused on working on energy technologies. First, because it supports the ARPA-E mission. It also enhanced the economic and energy security of the United States. And it ensures that the US maintains a lead in advancing energy technologies. For ARPA-E's purpose, it's also a way to expand ARPA-E's community by paying particular attention to early researchers. And it is also, because they are early in their career, we hope that by supporting them early on, they will pursue their efforts in developing energy technologies and to further pursue the ARPA-E's mission. And also for us, it's a way to develop a pipeline of talent and stakeholders who will be sending great proposals in the future, may become program directors or tech-to-market advisors. And we hope they will also engage with other activities at the agency, such as reviewing and advising or participating in some of the workshops, etc. So this is the motivation for the IGNIITE program. This program is very unique within the federal government and within ARPA-E. First of all, during the selection process, we have an oral presentation where selected applicants after the concept paper, so this oral presentation is between the concept paper and the full application phase, they come to Washington, D.C. and they pitch their proposal. We treat, once this is the final selection is done, we treat the awardees as a cohort. So they may explore all kinds of different technologies across the spectrum of technologies, but we treat them as a cohort. So they have a supported network. They create their support network, and it's a very diverse group of people from academia, national labs, large corporations, and startup companies. The PIs, we want the PIs to engage with ARPA-E activities. So that means attending the ARPA-E Summit, attending some of the workshops and the annual meetings we have for our regular programs. And again, it would be mutually beneficial for them to help and serve as reviewers of concept papers and full applications. So we really try to put them in the center of the ARPA-E ecosystem. And another aspect that's very unique about the program would be that we bring them to Washington, D.C. for 1 week in the summer to meet program directors, technical market advisors, fellows, technical advisors, and engage with the funding agencies within the government. And also we have we bring people from our ecosystem, like venture capitalists and like this, to get to meet the awardees. And we also have a nice award ceremony during that week when they are present. So this is a slide presenting how we ran the program last year. The motivation is the same. The IGNIITE 2024 awarded $500,000 per awardee for 2 years with the potential of a plus up. We did not require cost share, and the eligibility criteria were what we define as early career is the applicant must have received their PhD within the last 8 years. In terms of citizenship, we encourage applicants who are US citizens, permanent residents, and who are in the process of applying to a green card. At the university, there should be pre-tenured faculty, assistant or associate professors, but pre-tenured. There could be permanent staff at the DOE labs or the national labs. They can be founder and CTO of full-time employee of startups, and they can also be researchers at large corporations. The idea for large corporation is this would be a project that is very early stage, that does not seem to be that seems to be too risky for the large corporation, but could be promising and impactful. So this is what we have in mind for this. Obviously, they do have internal research funds that could support more immediate research needs. So as already I mentioned, there is different phases. This is typical of ARPA-E and many agencies now. We have a concept paper. It's a 4-page concept paper. Then there's a pitch in Washington, D.C. of their idea, and they get questions, feedback, and then they can write, the applicants can write the full proposal with the option to respond to reviewers' comments. And then there's a final selection done. Okay, what are we looking for in the proposal we receive for IGNIITE? Well, first we want impact. So it needs to have a high impact on ARPA-E's mission, and it needs to be credible in the sense that it's not just a technology that's going to stay in the lab, that's not scalable, or is too costly. So these are issues that needs to be addressed so that there is a story to tell, that there is a path from lab to market. It has to be transformational and unique and disruptive. We like to see a bridge from maybe an earlier scientific discovery by the PI or not, but a scientific discovery and show a path to a technology that can address an energy problem. We also are looking at the individual, because this is the applicants or the selectees will be able to claim they've received the ARPA-E IGNIITE award. And so this is to an individual. And we do also look at their expertise, whether they can deliver on the promised research, and look at their track record. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the best way to respond to a potential notice of funding opportunity. First, the first phase is to write a good concept paper, so you can be selected for the full application. So first and foremost, everything that we are looking for is in the funding opportunity. So the PI should read it again to make sure it is compliant, that everything we ask that's mandatory is provided to us. We have a template for the concept paper that we provide. There is a maximum page length that needs to be respected. There are required sections with specific asks in these sections. That is important to address this, okay? From not just the science and the technology, but also the tech to market plan, the budget, okay, so we have specific asks, and these need to be provided. We, on a weekly basis, during the quiet period, after the funding opportunity has been issued, we run a question and answer post through the contracting officer. And so these are updated weekly, and if you have any questions, this should be, you should consult this post, okay? That's also with the regular on the website. And any questions once the notice of funding opportunity is issued, all the questions must be going through the contracting officer, and there's an email address in the NOFO that will be clearly specified, so you do not contact anyone specifically at ARPA-E. The contracting officer is the person who should be contacted. Now, about writing the concept paper, what we want to know is, what is the problem that you want to solve? What is the technology? Why is it a problem today? Why is it important? And what are the bottlenecks? Why is it still a problem today? What has not been solved? And what is it that you want to solve? Then we want to understand the innovation part of it. So the problem has to be clearly identified, and the impact on maybe the energy consumption in the US or the greenhouse gas emissions in the US. Connect this to ARPA-E's mission and to the country's needs for the technology you envision. Then we want to understand the innovation. How are you proposing to solve this important problem? And also, why is it hard? Maybe it's easy, and in that case, it would not warrant any funding from us. So what makes this a hard problem? And how do you think you're going to solve it? If you have preliminary results or intellectual property that could be used to address this problem, we'd love to see some data and a reference to your patent or your patent application. A key question we ask when we assess the concept papers and the full application is, if it works, will it matter? So you can't just focus on, I'm going to make this work. The question is, okay, that's fine. That's why you have a proposal, but why will it matter? Once you've solved it, will it matter? And that connection, because that's really what you make it work in the lab, and it matters in the marketplace. And so that's this bridge that we need to understand. How do you do this? You can have, what is important is to introduce some metrics, like at scale, my technology can reduce the energy import or the energy consumption of buildings by that much. So give us some numbers of a potential impact so that we understand why it matters. It could be energy production, energy savings or efficiency, a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, anything that connects to ARPA-E's mission I mentioned earlier. In regular programs, we specify the metrics we want to assess the full application against, but here the keys would be for you to tell us what the metrics of your project should be. So a table of metrics with specific numbers, a comparison between the state of the art, what it is today, and where you would like to take these metrics after at the end of the project. These are interesting and useful informations we want to see, and also provide the schematic, maybe explaining the physics of how you see how your technology works. Okay, and then obviously we do tolerate high risk. We do high risk, high reward research, but knowing that there is a risk, we are interested in understanding what are the risk mitigation. If it doesn't work, what's the plan? So what are the risks and how do you plan on addressing them? Finally, you can break down your work in tasks so that we understand the logical path you are envisioning to solve the problem and demonstrate the technology to a certain level. Be realistic with the project timeline. It's 2 years and the money, it's $500,000. So we can't promise to build a rocket to go to the moon with $500,000 or any other large system. So the timeline and the project should be commensurate with again how much time and how much money we are proposing or offering in this program. We also like metrics, and we look for SMART metrics. And SMART means specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And if that can get into the concept paper or the full application, that is very helpful. And that in the form of a table would be a perfect way to show these metrics. And then towards the end of the application, we have space for the description or the bio sketch of the PI. There is also more opportunity to expand or to have a 2-page CV on it, about the PI specifically, but a short, brief description or bio sketch is also helpful to explain why you think you're qualified to perform the work that is proposed. And then an advice I would say that from experience reading this concept paper and full application is often the description is the technology is remarkable, and again it's potentially it works, but the claim is the explanation of if it works, will it matter, is not always there. So it works, it's amazing, yeah, great, but how is it going to matter? And I think that needs to be clearly identified. Sometimes it's embellished. When you're enamored by your technology, it's embellished. Acknowledging the shortcomings is also important. And this is why you propose something. It is great, but it has shortcomings, and you want to address the shortcomings in this proposal. So I think this is a nice story. When it's too rosy, it may not be credible. Another thing that another pitfall is sometimes we receive proposals that more like the hammer looking for a nail, and the nail is the problem, but you have there is a solution, but we don't really know what the problem is or what is the big problem, where is the impact of that solution. And so I think we want to start with the nail and then find the hammer that will best nail the nail. Okay, so let's not put the methodology or the technology at the beginning, but let's start with the problem we want to solve. Okay, and then again, I already mentioned that, but this is the motto we go by, and it is, if it works, will it matter? The project is meant, the concept paper and the money is to show that it works, but we also know that the point is made in the full application or the concept paper that it will matter if it works. Okay, with this, I think I will answer some questions. Sorry, I need to. See the. I'm sorry, I need to escape this. Okay. Here we go. So let's start the question by Kenneth Capron. Can the funding be combined with NSF funding to build the prototype? Possibly. I don't see why not, but this is not a scenario we have seen often. You could say that the NSF is working on the science part of the project, and the ARPA-E funding will support kind of the next step of development. Maybe that would be a better way to do it. Say that you have discovered new phenomena or developed new science with the NSF fund, and now you're taking it to the next level with ARPA-E's money. This is a great story to tell. A question by George. Can more than one early career PI participate in one IGNIITE proposal? The answer is no. This is a single PI grant, so only one PI. If you have more than one PI, let them write their own proposal, and they can submit both. We don't have a limit on the number of PIs and proposal we get from any given institution. Sorry, Kenneth, I'm taking your question in the wrong order, but the first question you had was, is a PhD necessary for the PI, for the innovator? The answer is yes. Its early career is defined within 8 years of receiving a PhD. The PhD is basically a way to make sure the person has been trained as a researcher. And this is ARPA-E support R&D, research and development. So that gives some credentials to the PI. Okay, sorry. Okay, here. I'll take the question by Shuna Ni. You mentioned that ARPA-E also supports projects aimed at improving the resilience of energy infrastructure. Could you please provide an example of such a project? Okay, well, for example, we have a program called UltraFast, and the goal is to have ultra-fast switches and power electronic devices that can isolate parts of the grid that has problems. And so to make sure that you don't have a blackout that causes instability in the grid, and the grid it propagates through a very large area of the country. So that's a way you could think of improving the resilience of energy infrastructure. Energy infrastructure may be another way of asking, what is energy infrastructure? It's pipelines, the grid, terminals for natural gas, oil. So all of these constitute the energy infrastructure, and we want it to be resilient. For example, another thing that touches a little bit on defense, you could have an electromagnetic pulse to shut down the grid from potential enemies. And we also, for example, we are interested in technology that could address these concerns or respond to this, to make the grid resilient. Okay, I hope I answered your questions. Okay, Gosia, should the technology be targeting energy generation, storage problems, or other technology that take a large amount of energy, like plastic synthesis or recycling, within scope? So here I encourage you to look at the 23 awardees that were selected last year, and you'll see a good amount of project related to plastic, but plastic per se or recycling or reducing waste is not necessarily the focus of ARPA-E. So it needs to have a connection to energy. As far as technology we are targeting, it's everything. And energy storage, energy generation, energy transmission, energy efficiency, all of this is in scope. Okay, can I reach out to discuss potential idea for the coming FOA? The answer is no. Once the NO4, the Notice of Funding Opportunity, is released, we cannot talk to you. You can ask specific questions through the email to the contracting officer, but the program directors cannot engage with you and discuss your idea. Okay, let me go through. There are so many questions. Let me pick them at random. Can associate professor apply or just assistant? In some universities, you can be associate professor and pre-tenured, so you don't have tenure yet as associate professor. Then you can apply. But if you're tenured associate professor with tenure, you are not eligible. Is ARPA interested in wireless power transfer? Yes, we are. Like any other technology, okay, not more but not less. And I have colleagues here who are interested in that aspect. Is energy usage in transportation also in scope, such as electric vehicle, their design and operation to minimize energy usage? Yes, it is in scope. Make sure that it is innovative and that the research project proposed is impactful. I developed a method for simulating hybrid wave, wind wave offshore energies. Okay, I cannot comment on specific technology here, but again, if it's if you feel it is contributing to ARPA-E's mission, we certainly do not exclude it. From what I'm reading, I don't see any. It seems very relevant to ARPA-E. Then the question is, what are the specifics? For assistant professor, is collaboration with industry allowed or encouraged? We certainly do not discourage it. It's just that they will not, the industrial partner will not receive funds. Only the assistant professor PI will receive the funds. So, and we are not requiring cost share. So it's more of a moral support, or maybe you can describe the engagement you may have with the industry partner, and again, we certainly do not discourage it, but there won't be, this partner will not be a sub-recipient. We do not allow sub-recipient.
Industry.
Or if, well, okay, if the industry is the PI, then that's fine. But again, one entity, the company, and the PI is a full-time employee of that company. Are you seeking projects that focus on developing new technology with the integration of new hardware, or would software-based solution also be acceptable? Yeah, hardware, software, a combination is fine. Software alone is also fine. You would want to demonstrate or show that that this software does address a problem, an energy problem. But yes, we are welcoming this software-based solution. Again, the key is we don't want just solutions. We may want to have the software go to the field and show how it works. Our proposal related to energy efficient computing within the scope of this program? Yes. I encourage you to look at what we supported with Enlightened. There was a program called Enlighten. It's still ongoing. I'm managing a team from Columbia University working on this. So this is definitely very relevant. Data center consume enormous amount of energy. We have an increasing need, and we have several programs on that. We also have cooler chips, which is meant to cool data centers to do the thermal management of data centers. If you are working in collaboration with a PhD, but they are not an equity holder in the company, will this suffice? I'm not sure I understand this question. Or if you... Okay, so could you, I think the way that question is, if we have a PhD, a person who has a PhD and working in a company, but that person is not an equity holder of the company, will it be sufficient will the person meet the eligibility criteria? Yes, it's possible. Yes, I don't see any objection to that. But one thing that is important here is that we want the PI to have complete discretion as how the funds are spent. So we want to empower them. So if there's always using facilities or there is a supervisor who's going to control the money or how the PhD, the researcher is going to spend the money, that would not be acceptable. So that needs to be clarified. And we ask for a letter of support from the direct supervisor of the applicant. So that can be discussed how you're going to work out this relationship. But we have actually an awardee in IGNIITE 2024 and will meet this situation. What are the major differences between ARPA-E IGNIITE and DOE Early Career Research program? DOE Early Career has a strong focus on computational work, and we don't. So I think that's the big difference. Is there a limit of concept papers from an individual PI? Theoretically, no. So a PI could submit several concept papers. We'd advise against this, but because you're going to spread your time over multiple concept papers, and maybe it's better to focus on one and polish it well. It's extremely competitive. It was very competitive last year, so it's a call the PI makes, but we are not limiting the number. If it becomes a problem, we might in the future. Is there a limit of how many times you can submit a concept paper? So far, no. There is no limit. What technology readiness level is expected in the IGNIITE proposal? At ARPA-E, we do not talk about technology readiness level. So we care about impact. Okay. As a PI, can you have a co-PI subcontractor from national labs? The response is no. No sub-recipients, no co-PIs. Okay, there's a question on a specific past proposal. I cannot really comment on this without much details. Will the slides be shared after the webinar? The webinar is recorded and the session will be posted, yes. Are professional engineers allowed to apply beside PhD? Again, I think I answered this question, but you need to have the PI must have received the PhD within 8 years of the concept paper application. Will topics on quantum computing and memory considered for this program? I would say maybe, maybe not. I think the key is you need to connect to ARPA-E's mission and have obviously address an energy challenge here. But we do have some programs focus on quantum computing as a tool to address energy issues. You may want to look at the funding opportunities there. But again, quantum computing to enable quantum computing alone this is not what we are supporting. We are addressing energy challenges of the country. Maybe the CHIPS Act and what CHIPS is trying to do is maybe more relevant to the computing aspect. Okay, sorry, I'm moving along here. Is a full-time researcher at the university but non-tenure eligible to apply? This is an interesting question. The full-time researcher must have PI status. So a full-time researcher who can write grants and be the PI is eligible, yes. We would want to have probably in the letter from the department chair a statement that this full-time researcher can be a PI for the grant, okay? And you have unfunded collaborators on the project. Yes, you can. What was the rate of success last year? I do not know if I'm allowed to say this number. I would say less than 10%. It's less than that. Yeah, I think the same question, what is the funding rate? That gives you that idea. So where can I find the notice of funding opportunity? Here, this is a webinar announcing the potential notice of funding opportunity. The funding opportunity is not out yet. However, I encourage you to sign up for our newsletter. If you Google ARPA-E newsletter, you'll have a sign up page where you can sign up, and any announcement of IGNIITE 2025 would be done through this. Social media is also another way to do it. Okay, I think I answered all the questions. If your question has not been answered, maybe you can add it to the copy and paste it so that I can see at the very bottom of the thread. I'll give you a few seconds. Otherwise I think I answered all the questions. Okay. Is there any eligibility requirement? Sorry, I cannot see this one. Is there any eligibility requirement? Can career track professors apply? So again, there are eligibility criteria. Again, I encourage you to read the notice of funding opportunity if and when it comes out. For professors, they need to be pre-tenured professors. So assistant professor without tenure or associate professor without tenure, but both on tenured track. Or research professor, as I already mentioned earlier. All right, so I think if there's no more question, I will end this webinar. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, I encourage you to sign up for the ARPA-E newsletter to get any update if this notice of funding opportunity comes out. Be on the lookout for IGNIITE 2025. Thank you all for joining, and this concludes this webinar. Thank you.